15th. We're going to rise for the pledge. If you so desire, please remain standing with us as we observe a moment of silence. Yesterday was Peace Officers Day. A lot of folks asked why flags were at half-staff, and that's why flags were at half-staff. It was interesting that we had our Public Safety Awards on that day as well. So a lot of things came together, but certainly keep all of our public safety and those in our armed forces. And I would also like to reach out to the family of the president of the Carroll County Volunteer Emergency Service Association. President Fair was injured in an accident last Saturday. He is recovering at shock trauma, best place anywhere, and has got a long road of healing ahead. So I would ask that you keep he and his family in your thoughts as well. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. We're going to do Priority Carroll. Let's go through all of us first before we do what we have on our schedule here. So, you want to start?
I can start. You normally start with Dennis.
Go ahead.
Well, he gets his feathers ruffled. So
We don't want him offended.
but that's
Go
all right.
ahead.
We'll go down here this time. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, last night I attended the partnership banquet for the Carroll Career and Technology Center, where they honor the businesses to provide internships for students. It was an honor to be there. I started my career in a welding program over in Howard County's vocational system, so I realized the importance and value of these programs and the sacrifice that a lot of businesses make and the risk bringing on young students into their business. So they honored them. It was a wonderful banquet. The students made the food. The food was fantastic, so keep up the good work. That's it. It's all you.
Well, last week, 4 of us attended the Carroll County Land Trust, and this is the group dedicated to preserving the agricultural, rural, and historic character of Carroll County by accepting and maintaining donated easements. And it was a nice evening, nice dinner, which I thought was great. And I'm not going to steal somebody else's thunder here, but the Carroll County Chamber of Commerce Public Safety Awards yesterday, that Commissioner Wentz alluded to, was a very nice event. I'll let you guys talk a little more on that, but were recognized, Jack Liburn in Economic Development, as a Distinguished Achievement Award for their service and what they did in conjunction with a whole group of people in order to keep things going in tough times out here. There's a whole group of people honored on that, pages of them, but it was really a nice event yesterday morning for breakfast.
Again, a shout out Commissioner Wentz, did a great job keynote. Your points you made at the mic resonated. I think, I know to me and also to the audience yesterday morning. So kudos to you and appreciate it.
Thank you.
Another again shout out to Jack Liburn and his team at Economic Development. We hosted Secretary of Commerce, Secretary Schultz last week, and it was just a great full day of discussion and contributions from both our local government, the business community, and developers. And I think she left very encouraged on what's happening in Carroll County, both up in the Westminster business community that she visited, along with down in Eldersburg with the site visits down there. I had a conversation with her afterwards, and she really highlighted the video that was shared from Jack and his team, along with the very candid discussion she had with the business community and us. So kudos to everyone that was participated in that, and again, thanks for Jack and his team for facilitating it. So.
I have to piggyback on that, saying that the visit with Secretary Schultz was tremendous. It really worked out very well. She did say the morning was the best part, but it was a great day. Also, just our employee appreciation thing we had on Tuesday, I thought was really, really good. I really like the fact that we had the games there, the cornhole, the badminton, and the pickleball, because it really, I don't know how else to say this, but it made me feel good to see the people playing the games, getting along with each other, talking and laughing and so forth. I thought was really, really a great day. So thanks for our people that put that on.
Yeah, that was well done. Tuesday was a great day. So, Steve Shute was here on Monday,
That's right, I forgot about that.
and we met with. It's always great to have Steve back in the county, who was the county executive of Anne Arundel, and he's now the point person for Governor Hogan's opioid operational command, and he was here all day and saw the great things and had absolutely nothing but compliments to say about the way in which we are attacking this. So Commissioner Frazier and I had a chance to sit down with Steve and his team without anybody else in the room, which was a really, really good place to be. That health department thing didn't get in the way. Where's Singer? Is he in the room? Anyway, it was good.
It was very good.
We had a good meeting with him. I'm not going to continue to go on this to talk about the public safety awards, but I got to tell you, Dick, you were spot on, and I appreciate your comments, Ed, as well, because these folks don't get thanked enough for what they do. They really don't, and they're out there 24/7, and we take them for granted. And yesterday was a chance to say thank you. That's the third one that they've had. It keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger every year, and it was just a great event. So shout out to, and I'm not going to go down through the whole list. I also want to thank Carroll County resident Jennifer Franciotti for serving as the master. Is that the master of ceremonies, or would she be the? How's
Yeah,
that?
good
I
enough.
think
Is
it's
that-
still Masters.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway. Yeah. Anyway, she did a fabulous job. She lives very close and has a big place in her heart for Carroll.
And a better half of the Deggett's family.
And she did,
Yeah.
she did mention that if she'd known about some of these stories, they would have been on
Yeah.
TV. I mean, it happens, people don't even know about it
Right.
until it's brought out at an event like this, so
Yeah.
it's normal here.
Yeah, it is, and it's amazing. And I reminded people that a lot of the folks that went up to the stage yesterday morning, volunteers, amazing. Anyway, Lisa Deggetts, this was her idea.
Yep.
4 years ago, and this is the third one, but it took them a year to get it going. So kudos to her as well. That's great. We know now how Jeff is able to operate.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Our hands are full.
I'm not going to go through the whole list. We did that yesterday, but Scott, you're here. Valerie, you're here. I mean, the dispatchers, the A-shift dispatchers, a lot of this thing centered around that ridiculous rain that we had in one. So now we get rain every day, but last year we got rain in one day. Well, we got rain every day last year too. But anyway, that one day there was I don't know how many inches in like a ridiculous amount of time. And, yeah. So a lot of these things that occurred were as a result of that weather event, and I want to just say kudos to everybody on that. So encourage folks to watch for that next year, because that's a tremendous event. So on our schedule today for Priority Carroll is Older Americans Month. I'm not. Commissioner Weaver. Yeah, y'all see what I did there?
Aren't they epic now? Epic citizens or something?
That's what Recreation and Parks.
Commissioner
Ah,
Weaver, yeah,
that's what
put
it
your
is. I was
glasses
gonna
on.
say, Commissioner Weaver's epic.
Did you see that look he gave me?
Now, you need the glasses.
No
You know you
comment,
do.
no comment on this. Just remember paybacks.
Uh-huh.
Um,
I think I owed you a couple anyways. Anyway.
We have a proclamation here to read this morning. Just got handed. Well, and this is for Older Americans Month. Whereas the Carroll County Bureau of Aging and Disabilities has been providing services to older Americans in Carroll County since 1972, 47 years. And whereas Older Americans Month honors the growing number of older adults throughout Carroll County during the month of May, Every day, older adults make a positive impact on our communities, and their diverse life experiences and insights enrich and strengthen our neighborhoods, workplaces, and families. And whereas this year's theme is Connect, Create, and Contribute, we invite all older adults to connect with friends, family, and services that support participation, create through activities that promote learning, health, and personal enrichment, contribute time, talent, and life experiences to benefit others. Whereas Carroll County Bureau of Aging and Disabilities is committed to strengthening our community by connecting with you and support older adults and families, veterans, caregivers, and acknowledging their many valuable contributions to society. And whereas we recognize the importance of bringing together all generations and encouraging in activities that promote physical, mental, and emotional well-being for the benefit of all. And whereas the Carroll County Bureau of Aging and Disabilities can enhance the lives of older Americans in our community by providing home and community-based services and supporting independent living, involving older Americans in community events and other activities, providing opportunities for older adults to work, volunteer, learn, lead, and mentor. Now, therefore, we, the Board of Carroll County Commissioners of Carroll County, Maryland, do hereby proclaim May 2019 as Older Americans Month. And this is adopted on 16th of May and signed by all 5 commissioners. So with this aging group here, I would suggest we bring Christine down for a photo op.
Comments?
What? So our Director of Citizen Services here, Christine Kay, the fabulous young Christine Kay. You're welcome. You want to say a few words, and then we'll do a photo op.
Oh, no, Celine's going to say a few words.
All right.
Okay,
Mayor Chief of Aging and Disabilities.
very good.
I just wanted to invite everyone out to our senior and community centers. All 5 of our centers will be celebrating Older Americans Month this May on May 29th. Please register in advance. We will have meals served that day, and we have special events going on at each one of the centers. And it is a joy to be able to serve the older adult and disability population in Carroll County, because we have wonderful staff, wonderful support through our Commissioner's office, and we have so many programs to offer seniors. And if you've had a chance to come out and see some of our community meetings recently about the services we provide and what we're looking to do in the future is ahead of us. And it's a great place to age in Carroll County.
I do just want to mention, you have fantastic centers, no matter where they are in Carroll County. The activities you provide is phenomenal. And I know the North Carroll happens to be one of the better centers, but it is really fantastic what you do in all of them.
That is fun.
I'd be remiss also if didn't share. I attended on Monday the community event you had in South Carroll, and the questionnaires, the outreach that you and your team, and I know it's not just you, it is the entire team that is reaching out to the community and identifying what are the best services that we can provide for them, what are the things that we're missing. You're really listening and learning from them, and I really just applaud you and the team's outreach to the community. And great opportunity Monday morning, or whenever it was. Yeah, Monday. So, fantastic.
Will there be pickleball?
It's
There's always
dangerous.
pickleball.
Okay.
So we offer that in some way, shape, or form, either on-site at our centers or off-site through participation and registration at the centers. So we do
Yeah.
coordinate that at all of our centers.
You want to see competitive pickleball, you go down to South Carroll, and you cannot get in that gym. It is a
See?
dangerous place. Okay? So, yes,
That's a serious sport.
it is.
So, okay.
Okay.
Thank you all very much. We're going to do a photo op. And we all say, and we know this for a fact, our aging community here in Carroll, they're the smartest people going. They've ate, slept, and drank Carroll County. If you want to know and want to reach out to the population and get an idea on where they think the future of Carroll should be, talk to those folks, and they won't hesitate to tell you. Some of the smartest folks around, I will tell you. So, tremendous amount of respect for them. My mom and dad are both 82, and my dad was out mowing the grass yesterday. So,
Here's mowing your grass.
I don't know yet. I can't see. I can't see in the windows right now. So it's that tall. Anyway, so whenever we go to any of these, and you were right, Dick. The North Carroll Community Center is fantastic. Tony Town's great. Shooting a game of pool up there with and getting the latest scoop on where everybody is and what they think is priceless. So, yeah, not like pickleball, but some of those pool matches up there get serious as
Well, we got a
well.
good pool hall down there too,
Yeah,
so.
so-
Cool.
Okay. You and I are gonna have to talk, Weaver.
Knock me over. You're a resident photographer.
It is?
Christine, take your badge off. Or cover it, your badge. There you go.
Five weeks of kickboxing. I don't know if I can handle this anymore. Christine, come on, seriously. Christine. Hey. Control. Every morning.
I can't wait until it's
I
6
know.
weeks from now.
One more week left.
She's doing this kickboxing.
Yep, I'm the whippersnapper.
She's to boost every day.
Every morning.
Every morning she's boosting.
Well, keep her
Keeping
eyes
us home.
open.
Okay. Two other quick things to keep in mind. This weekend, Saturday, will be the, whatever, I don't know what number it is now, but we don't go by that anyway, but it's the convention for the Volunteer Emergency Service Association. We'll be meeting in the Manchester-Lineborough area for most of the day on Saturday, and I want to give a shout out to them. It goes without saying what they provide to our communities. And I'll be attending the Falling Heroes Memorial Service down at the Maryland State Public Training Center in Sykesville tomorrow. All week sort of been the theme of peace officers and the sacrifices that they make. So, all right, interesting that our agenda includes some senior citizen things.
Commissioner,
So,
did you want to do this?
oh yeah, we got to draw, let's do that first. We've got to draw names for the 3 prizes that for the Employee Day.
Maybe did stand up.
Yeah, since it's Senior Day.
She's rubbing her hands together now.
So the 3 prizes, how are we going to do this? The 3 prizes were a fantastic dinner with the commissioner of your choice at at Libertours. What? And
We've
well,
been there and done that.
I recommended that. I had a couple people that took that chance. I said I'd go with them.
It's nice of you.
Do they still take a chance?
No.
No, they kept walking. Then I don't know why.
We
You
can't
want to do
read
that
that
one
far.
first?
What is it?
Is this the? Oh, a
There's
day
a-
off, and then there was a gift bag, a gift tote or something with stuff in it.
Which one do you want to do first?
Why don't we do the $100 gift certificate first? Let's go from the top down. Of course, the day off's pretty important too. But let's do the $100 gift certificate or gift card to Libertours, and we thank Pino for being a part of that too.
Charlie Beckhart.
Charlie
Charlie
Beckhart.
Beckard.
Very good.
That was the Libertories, right?
Yep, that was Libertours. Yep. Charlie just fell off his chair downstairs. There you go. Get back up, Charlie.
Get back behind your computer.
Yeah, get back behind the computer.
It's important.
Day,
Moves up,
day
I'll
off.
Get an invite.
This is for a day off.
Nick Pinto.
Nick
Nick
DePinto.
DePinto.
Nick is out at
Right.
Rhodes. Nick's in Rhodes. So, congratulations to Nick. He gets a day off. And then finally, the gift bag with various things in it. That's a nice gift bag.
A lot of Carroll County tchotchkes.
Dina Black. from Circuit Court.
Dina
Black.
Black, from the Circuit Court.
Circuit Court. Yep. Okay. All right, anybody else want to give anything away while we got all those things in the box? I don't know. Counselor, you want to give anything away? I don't. No,
A
you good?
day with
Okay.
the council.
Tim Burke donated a
Advice?
television to Employee
Free
Appreciation Day,
advice.
so there were several, there
Oh,
were,
did he?
how many people were on that list? Probably about 25 or so folks won different things after Employee Appreciation Day, and
Good.
one lucky person won a 32-inch television donated by our lovely county,
Nice,
whatever you are,
nicely done.
attorney.
It was only 20 years old, too. It's going to be really.
It's an antique,
Yeah.
antique television.
It was about the same age as
Yeah.
that shirt you were
They
wearing.
will.
the other day.
Yesterday.
Sorry. Sorry.
Oh, this is a tough audience today.
You don't get violated for something to
He
say.
threw the softball up. I had to.
Okay, let's quickly move to our first agenda item. Request approval to submit the Senior Citizen Activities Center Operating Fund Program Grant. Ladies,
Good morning again.
good morning. Where's Gina? She didn't want to come, or what?
I was wondering the same thing. Gina's always here, right?
I know, where's Gina?
She's watching
Okay.
behind the scenes.
She's sending us messages.
Okay.
She'll critique them later.
Yeah.
Right. So, good morning. The FY20 Senior Citizens Activities Center Operating Fund. This is funding that the Maryland Department of Aging puts out every year for new innovative programs at senior centers or for critical operating needs. We have applied in the past. This year, we are seeking to apply for a new nutrition program at the centers. I'll let Celine kind of go into the details, but it will be for about $12,330 to contract for a registered dietitian at the centers. A total of really $34.69 in supplies. We'll round up to $35 for supplies, and for a total of
What, wait, what?
$12,364.69.
So it's a formula-based amount that we're allocated. We didn't select that amount, so we had to back into that. So we have an hourly rate that we're going to be utilizing for the formula to hire a contract nutritionist, sort of registered dietitian. So that's how we got to that number. That's why it's a little off. And we will need program supplies, and we figured that we would just use the nominal amount on that, and we'll be able to cover the others with our other grant funds.
There are two parts to this grant. This is the first grant, which is allocated dollars. The second grant, which we'll talk about after this one, is for competitive dollars. So you wanna give that-
Okay, sure. So as you all know, our senior centers, one of the biggest pieces that we provide through our senior centers is our nutrition program. So we serve a hot meal at every senior center each day. And we have different options for those meals so that we can meet anyone's dietary needs and that people can select to eat there. Not only is the nutrition important, but so is the socialization. Through the nutrition program, we also do a nutrition screening as people come in and register for our senior centers. Through that screening, over the past year, we had identified 147 individuals that have been at nutritional risk. That means that they screened in at least 6 of the factors that were identified through that screen. So what we would like to do is utilize the Senior Center Operating Grant Fund to be able to hire a contractual registered dietitian to provide nutrition consultation to these individuals that have screened in as high risk, and then also to provide a care plan for that individual to work with them to really help them come out of this nutritional risk. We also are going to have the nutritionist provide telephonic support to these individuals as they're moving through this care plan. This is a service that we don't currently offer now, but these individuals that are coming into our centers are already there. So we already have them coming in, and if we have them there, we would like to be able to provide a service to them to help them get out of this nutritional risk. So that's what we've identified this money for this particular year. The total amount, as Christine said, is $12,364.69. And we're also currently in the middle of a malnutrition project that's sponsored through the Maryland Department of Aging, and this ties in directly to that project and some of the other pathways that we're trying to develop with that project.
So I applaud you for going after this type of grant. The success, I would think, is the documentation. and the progress of those 147, and then how that's sustained, because this sounds like the first time I pilot approach with the intent to go further, over the years, but in order to go further is that documentation and the sustainment of how this person works with those 147 identified. So, yeah, it sounds great. Thank you.
With that, I move the Board of Commissioners approve the Senior Citizens Activity Center Operating Fund Grant application and accept the award.
Second.
Okay. Would you take them how would you do that? Would this person go rotate through, I guess, the
All
five?
centers, yes.
Yeah,
We'll
and
make
then-
appointments with the folks that want to talk with
Okay.
her or he.
Okay.
And then they would meet with them.
Okay.
There are some other jurisdictions that offer this similar type of an approach, and we do know that it's a voluntary program, and there are going to be several, if not on the side of many individuals that we offer this to out of that 147 that say, I'm
That's
not
it,
interested.
yeah, right.
Because, some people don't want people tracking what they're eating or helping them to identify
Right.
better things to eat. But our goal is if we reach a handful, then we've reached a handful, and that makes a difference. So we're hoping to have better success, but we'll keep you posted.
Okay, good. All right. Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Request approval to submit the Senior Citizens Activity Center Operating Fund Program. Is this another one?
Yep.
Okay, this is a
This
different
the
one.
competitive side.
It's a competitive
Okay.
one.
Okay. Next grant.
So, talking about sustainability, this grant is the competitive side of the Senior Citizens Activity Center Operating Fund. And what we would like to do is hire a consultant to work with us and to work with local primary care providers that are enrolled in the Maryland Primary Care Provider Program to develop a referral and reimbursement system with the Bureau of Aging and Disabilities for individuals that they refer to the nutrition program. So the system would include direct provider referrals to the nutrition counseling program, chronic disease self-management, and other evidence-based programs, as well as connecting to community resources. I'll have Cecile talk a little bit more about how this works, but we're looking to apply for a total of $40,000, about 15 to 20 hours per week for the consultant.
Okay, thank you. So this program is kind of a complement to the nutrition program with the allocated funds that we would like to utilize in the non-competitive grant. And this ties into that as well, because we'd like to develop a reimbursable model so that we can continue to have the registered dietitian come into our centers, but also expand that reach. There are a lot of services that the Bureau of Aging and Disabilities provides currently, not just through our centers, but also through the Maryland Access Point information and assistance with our screenings, and also with our evidence-based programs for our chronic disease self-management, as well as our diabetic self-management, that tie in directly to the new Maryland, the Maryland Providers, Primary Care Provider Program, that now is encouraging any voluntary provider network that joins to support the overall healthcare transformation process, and the increased role that they need to play in the prevention and the community support of their patients. And we can help them to do that. And so there are other jurisdictions, especially the MAC Inc. down on the Eastern Shore, which is Dorchester, Worcester, Wacomico, and I'm missing one, Somerset. It's the consortium of their AAA on the Eastern Shore. They have the Center for Excellence, who has developed this model, and we have been talking with them for the past 2 years about how we can better access these referral-based systems through providers so that they come into us. We set up a system that then we can provide the service, show the data that we have been successful with these individuals, helping to reduce their recidivism either through fall prevention, hospital visits, and then they can, on the back end, provide us with a contracted reimbursable rate. And because they're being reimbursed at a higher rate now through Medicare and other insurance providers for these additional community resources that they're providing. So if they would share a piece of that with us as we're helping to provide this service, that is the goal that we're looking to meet here. So we have been working with the MAC. We've been talking with them about this model. We've met with the health department regarding this in the hospital as well. but we have to start small. We have to start with maybe one provider and then grow this. But it takes a lot of time and a lot of networking and a lot of development. And so what we're looking to do is hire a consultant, and we think that we have someone that's involved in this network already that could come in and help to provide this support to us to develop this. So the total cost that we're asking for $40,000 because this is a competitive grant, and they only have $100,000 to disperse in total across the state. We are not sure what the amount is that we could be awarded, if any at all. So if we do get a lower amount, we would still try to make this consultation work. And I'm hoping this is something that they'll look favorably upon, because this is something that the Maryland Department of Aging has been pushing and advocating for quite some time.
Questions? My only apprehension with these grants is that, the ability to sustain them if the programs are successful. Is the grant good next year? Is it good the year after? Because then we get into a jam. You all know that. So that's my only, I get a little.
No, and I understand that, and that was why we created this in the way that we did. We're not going to be hiring someone onto the county payroll. This is going to be a consultant that we hire out at an hourly rate that isn't going to be on our staff. And so this individual we would hire for the 1-year period of this grant, and we're hoping that even in advance of the year period, they could have developed this model for us. And once we have the model, the consultant's work is done. We wouldn't need to continue this. So that position would no longer be needed. We just need their assistance in helping to show us how to do this and how to get it done.
But I understand that, but the same concern is expectation management, is the reliance on that consultant as they're building the network, as they're building the ties, and outreach. I agree with it. I think the success is the network that they have to build, whether it's with, lots of different facilities in our community. But it is a concern that it's one-time funds that we have to compete for again, because 1 year is a very relatively short period of time, and there could be a reliance and expectations on that consultant afterwards. We just have to be aware of that, so, but, okay.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Again, I applaud you for going after these things.
Yeah.
I just, how the budget was this year, so,
Absolutely.
with that, personnel is always an issue, so if it's extremely successful, then we get into, okay, well, it's working, we need to do it again, and then it gets, so, that's all, so. But if they're gonna set it up and have a model for you all to follow, I'm good with that.
And that is the
Sets
goal.
my mind at ease a little bit,
Right.
so, okay. All right.
I make the motion, the Board of Commissioners approve the application for the FY20 Senior Citizens Activity Center Operating Fund Grant and accept award.
Second.
Accept the award.
Okay, got a motion and second. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Can I just say one thing before you
Thank you,
leave? I've been asked by several senior citizens to play pickleball now, because I understand that in order to use our senior citizen centers, you have to be 60 years old to use centers. Is that correct? That's what I was told.
Or 50 with a disability.
Okay, and I was also told that other counties will allow 50 and older to be okay. So people have asked if we could lower the age a little bit. Just something to bring up. I told them I'd bring it up for you.
Okay.
Okay, just something to think about.
Some more, yeah, sure.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
50.
Well, I'm not saying us to go down to 50, but Howard County's is 50. They
Okay.
age really quickly over
That's
in that
interesting.
county.
Yeah, apparently they do.
I
Well,
thought you were trying to get on
so-
the pickleball league.
So, a lot of reasons for aging quickly over there.
I have to
anyway.
say, that the people that asked me said, well, you won't be able to use senior centers for a while. I said, I'm already over 60. I can use them now.
Well, there you go. So,
Okay,
yeah.
that pickleball
good compliment.
competition
Yeah.
is tough.
All right, thank you.
They call me a natural, in case you're wondering.
Yeah. Okay.
Lying.
All right, next on our agenda is, we go from senior citizens to public safety. Request approval to purchase 31 replacement desktop computers for our primary EOC. Dr. Campbell, good morning.
And was there supposed to be some kind of a connection between the senior comment and me coming?
Absolutely not,
So
sir.
I appreciate that, Commissioner. And by the way, sir, I'm really not winking at you, but today, of course, my right eye decided to do the little twitch thing, so I promise I am not flirting with you or winking at you. I apologize for that.
You don't get good points, now you just ruined it.
Good, yeah, good to know.
Okay.
If it gets to 35,000
Yeah.
hours, he is.
On that note, I
Make a motion.
I would like to pass anything over to our emergency manager. So you're out, Campbell. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Commissioners, what's proposed today is a much-needed upgrade of the desktop computers that are used at the primary emergency operations center using available grant funds, which the board has previously accepted. Our proposal is to purchase 31 of these desktop computers, which were spec'd in coordination and with the approval of Technology Services, in the amount of $35,584.28. And due to the value of this proposed transaction, the commissioner or the board concurrence is required for us to proceed.
What do you do with the old computers?
It's a great question. Do we?
Thank you.
Was
As
that
much
a
as
good
we
answer?
can, they'll be reutilized, and they need to stay in public safety, the public safety department somewhere, but some of them will be repurposed into other areas of public safety. So through the communication center has a plan to utilize a few of them in different areas. So part of what's driving this replacement is that some of them are getting older, they get used. So some of them are working fine. There's a few of them that are on their last legs, and we need to get ahead of that curve because we always need to be able to respond no matter what.
Sure.
So we're getting ahead of the curve with this one, replacing those, reutilizing the ones that can be reutilized, the ones that are not beyond repair. And they will be repurposed in other areas.
I mean, because I agree with the approach to get the state-of-the-art for all the right reasons. It's just knowing if we have a realization program or not when it comes to this type of hardware, because it may be antiquated to your purposes, but it may be state-of-the-art for an administrative role. So just, yeah, that as opposed to them just going off into the corner and collecting dust until a
No.
point where they're paperweights.
No,
So,
we will reutilize as many as we possibly can.
talking about bulk numbers like 31.
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks.
The ones that we don't reuse and are no longer useful, do we destroy the hard drives in them?
Yes, they get destroyed. We work with Department of Technology Services to even destroy they're not usable anymore. I don't know
Right, so,
exactly
but I don't want
process
the
is.
information on the
That's-
hard drive getting out, is what I'm saying.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are there any hidden costs in this software and other things going to come to us?
This includes the software, we're reusing the monitors, just to give you a little bit more background. We are reusing the monitors that already exist in the Emergency Operations Center that you've seen before. We're using everything that we can. This is really the actual desktop computer unit and whatever software we need. It's included in the purchase price. So as soon as we get them up and running and hooked into the network, they'll be ready to go. There's nothing else. There's no specialized software that we need to add in order to make these work in our Emergency Operations Center. They're really the basic Microsoft Office suite is sufficient for the work that's normally done in the Emergency Operations Center. Everything else that we utilize, for example, WebEOC, any of those programs, they're web-based. So as long as we have a web browser and we have Microsoft Office, we're good to go in those situations.
What has been the lifespan of these? The ones that you're replacing, I mean, just in general terms, is a 3-year, 5-year?
I believe that these were purchased at the end of 2013.
Okay.
Somewhere along that line, so close to.
Kind of fits in that.
Close to 7
Okay.
years.
That's correct.
Okay.
So I make the motion, the Board of Commissioners approve the proposed purchase of 31 computers, accessories, and operating software in the amount of $35,584.28.
I'll second it.
Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Commissioner.
you.
Unanimous. Next for you is the Hazmat Emergency Preparedness Grant.
Yes, sir. Commissioners, and for some clarity, it's the federal fiscal year 2019-2020 Hazardous Materials Emergency Preparedness, or HMEP, grant application. As with prior years, the monies under this grant stream are used to support the county's all-volunteer hazardous materials response team. What is proposed is a grant request as far as federal funds of $9,800. There is a 25% county match requirement, which has in the past, and again this year, would be satisfied with in-kind support. That 25% is $2,450. Total project, $12,250. There is no additional cost to the county, as in the in-kind match would be accomplished through funds that are already budgeted, so no additional monies are necessary to proceed. And as a clarification, 100%, again, we said is to support the hazmat team, but 100% would be for training of the all-volunteer various responders that make that team happen, make that team a possibility.
Good grant.
Yes.
The federal fiscal year, October, the federal fiscal year, is this typically the timeframe where you're going after these grants, or is it?
Yeah, so there's nothing out of the
I mean-
ordinary, this frequency, is it?
Yeah, this is typical timing.
Okay,
This is a pass-through
Yeah.
grant,
yep,
so
okay,
pass to MEMA, MEMA passes it to
Got
us
it.
if we're awarded it.
great cause.
For our viewers, could you give us an example when this training would be utilized for our community?
Absolutely, and actually, Valerie has exactly what's proposed this year.
Yeah, this particular proposal is for a 2-day ammonia training, ammonia response training. So our hazardous materials response team members would be attending the training that's put on by a contractor that comes in and does the training for them. The reason that they've chosen ammonia this year, and in past years, they've done propane IQ courses, they've done generalized hazardous materials courses, to increase the proficiency level of the responders that would be going out to respond to an incident that would occur in the county. Ammonia is something that's used heavily in agriculture, different ammonia products. Anhydrous ammonia is transported throughout the county. We did have, in 2006, there was an incident involving anhydrous ammonia on the CSX Railway in the southern portion of the county. So that is something that has been identified by the team as a need and a gap, and in the training that's already available. And this grant is something that they're looking to utilize to expand their training.
So it'd be like say a tanker truck has an accident and the vessel ruptures, they would,
It could be something like that. It could be something similar to what happened with a railway car. And I mean, you could use your imagination and extrapolate it in any way you really choose.
Okay.
There's a lot of ways that incidents like this can happen. But this increases the level of preparedness for our folks to be able to respond.
Something that's very important, Commissioner, if I may, is that this whole grant request is developed in coordination with and at the direction of the hazmat team. They're aware of their needs, they identify what they want to do, and Valerie's team helps make that come to fruition. They don't tell the team what they're gonna get, they assist them to get what they have identified they want and need. So they actually have the lead in this. So they've identified it as something that is to their benefit, and they're trying to make it come to fruition.
I think nowadays people don't realize how much hazardous material is moving around on rail lines and tractor and trailers. It's
Absolutely.
Every day it's moving through our county, so this is extremely critical.
And
Absolutely.
just for background information, in previous years, this particular grant, a different year obviously, but was utilized to do a hazardous materials commodity flow study for Carroll County. So that's one of the pieces of information that we, in coordination with the team, utilize to help determine, okay, what's coming through the county, what have we been able to document, and what do we need to then utilize possible grant funds to increase our preparedness level for.
Thank you.
Is this anhydrous ammonia or all ammonium forms?
This particular training, I believe, is all,
All
it's
forms.
it's a ammonia course, not specifically anhydrous ammonia.
Okay.
Tough area. I spent a good many years on the hazmat team, and not sure why. It's rough. You got to do things so differently.
Mm-hmm.
So
It
training
is
is
a
really, really
specific-
important.
Very
Yeah.
specific world.
Yep. All right, I'll make the motion we approve the 2020 Hazardous Materials Emergency Preparedness Grant application to MEMA. for $9,800 with a county match of $2,450, and accept these grant funds if awarded.
Second.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Commissioner.
Yep. All right. Additional funding with the fiber move on Macbeth and Main. Apparently, Mr. Ripper hit a rock. What's the matter with you? Why do you go round?
Not like a mountain.
Go round the rock, Ripper.
We're
Come
gonna
on.
talk about that, Commissioner.
Like Charlie Brown trick or treat, and you got the rock.
Good morning.
Morning. On March 14th, 2019, the Department of Technology Services requested your approval to move fiber along Route 32 from Macbeth Way down to Main Street in Sykesville. The total amount of that was $106,250 was the quote that we received for this. On those quotes, when we get those, there is a line on there that says that if we are to hit any rock and they have to bring in with a piece of equipment called a rock adder, that it would be $70 per foot in order to break that up. It's not a piece of equipment that you would generally see out on a fiber build unless you end up in some type of situation like this. Working with Skyline and the subcontractor, we actually got that down to $60 per foot. So we dropped it from $35,000 to $30,000 in order to be able to do this. The contractor has hit what we believe to be at this point 500 feet of rock, and we will need additional funding to bring the rock adder in at a cost of $60 per foot. The additional cost is $30,000 total, and the money is in the Transport State Projects Fund 8629, which is where we initially took $106,000 from for these types of things. I want you to know that the total build of this project was 4,700 feet. We have successfully drilled 4,200 feet of that. What happens is then they start on one side and they drill down. They hit the rock. They've tried multiple times. They did try going under, over, around, and they've broken numerous bits in trying to accomplish this. So then what they do is they go to the other end of the project and they come up the other direction. And they try and go through that way. At this point, we're actually 498 feet difference there. It is possible, because we don't do test boring the whole way down the 500 feet, that it may be a 100-foot chunk here, and it could be a 200-foot chunk there, and it'd only be 300 feet, and that's all we would be billed for if that were the case. We won't pay for any place where there is not rock in here. I can tell you in Carroll County we have hit rock before, but unfortunately this is the first time in the 12, 13 years that we've been doing this that we're unable to use the other different solution. What we've done in the past where we hit rock, for example, out near Carroll Hospital Center, is we simply move to the other side of the road and we're able to get through without any problem. Since we're moving this from the other side of the road, unfortunately that is not an option for us to consider here. But we have worked on this for about 2 weeks in total, trying to come up with any possible way to not have to do this. And at this point in time, we do not see any other option but to bring in the rock adder. And we're also under a little bit of time pressure in that State Highway wants to get started with their project. So it's not like, you could say, well, let's just use the other equipment and take 8 weeks to get through it. We don't have the advantage of being able to do that at this point in time.
Well, what other equipment would take 8 weeks to do?
If we continue to use the current equipment,
It would take 8 weeks?
yeah, it could end up taking longer than that. The problem is that as they try and get through it, they keep breaking bits.
No, I get you, but you said 8 weeks. That's not, is that a legitimate assessment that that's what it would take?
No,
or
that was just an approximation on my part.
Okay, because if it is 8 weeks, I'd rather use that 8 week time.
Yeah, we would not be able to tell that, Commissioner. We could get out there, we could be 8 weeks into the project and still having to go back and do this as an option.
Because the state highway is going through the planning phase, and 8 weeks would not conflict
Oh,
with
no,
state
actually, they
highway.
expected us to be done by, what was it, today? Or the 19th, something like that.
Understood.
Yeah.
But state highway's still not moving on that property, and they're not gonna be moving on that property for 8 weeks. The expectation is they would not be.
Is that the information you have, Steve?
All information that we have from them for the notice to proceed for the contractor that they're awarding to
Right.
was they wanted us off in the middle of the month so that they can do their notice to proceed to their contractor to
Right, and that's for planning, that's not for actually breaking ground. So, so I don't think that 8 weeks is in conflict with what State Highway's intent would be.
Right.
But if that 8 weeks is not a legitimate,
Now, we could,
Okay.
yeah, it's,
So-
right.
so you believe.
At this point, I believe this is the only option that we have, yes.
Okay, that's a better way of saying it.
Okay, thank you.
Is the $60 per foot, that's the competitive, and that's the most competitive?
Very
that you're gonna
competitive.
get?
And again, it's $10 less than what was in the original quote. So they're, you know, we asked them to go back and see if they could sharpen their pencils and do the best they could, and they took it down $10 per foot for us.
Is this an outside contractor coming in with this?
Yes, so it's a Skyline approved teaming partner that we have on the Carroll County Public Network contract.
And so you're part of Skyline?
I am, yes.
I'm sorry, this is Brian Hackenberg. He is our representative
Yeah, I
from
know.
Skyline. He takes care of all the business end, and Steve Crawford is the one who actually goes out into the field and helps us do all of our planning and building and construction.
Just a curiosity, how long does it take the rock outer to get through 500 feet of rock?
Roughly 100 to 200 feet a day, so
Oh, wow.
approximately 3
Okay.
days to get through it. Yes, sir. Normal traditional boring methods, what would be considered an average or an okay day would be approximately 500 feet. A good day would be about 1,000.
Wow.
Yes.
The work necessary done, is it gonna be, changing the road, traffic? Is there gonna have to be, traffic pushed to one side of the road while this is being done? Or is this an effort that does not necessarily have to be coordinated with State Highway where it's not gonna interfere with traffic? Do we know?
Correct, sir. It will not interfere with traffic at all. We've already established our work zone for the work that we've
Right.
currently been doing. It is additional equipment that we're bringing in, but we
Sure.
have the work zone set up in order to be able to accommodate for that without interfering with traffic.
Okay.
Any other questions? It is rock, right?
Yes, sir.
It's not like a burial vault
Yeah.
for like Jimmy Hoffa.
I
I'm
hope
just
not.
asking. I'm
No,
not,
sir.
Well, then it probably won't be 500 feet thick, so that could be good.
So I'll make the motion that we move that the Board of Commissioners authorize the contracting of rock adder at $6 per foot for a maximum of $30,000 to be used.
Second.
Okay, that's the first one. Any questions on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll continue with the motion, move that Board of County Commissioners approve a budget transfer of $30,000 from Transportation State Projects 8629 to Maryland 32 widening, which is 8804.
I guess I'll second it. Second.
That's the associated numbers to the accounts, right, Deb? That's why they're on there. Okay, all right. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Good luck.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Gentlemen.
Yep. Okay. Briefing, discussion, possible decision on the hotel rental tax distribution policy. And for that, we have our Director of Economic Development, Mr. Jack Liburn. Jack,
Commissioners-
good morning.
Good morning. And we had a bill that was a law in the 2004-25 session, and that established the hotel tax of 5%. We've been using it over the years to basically salaries, advertising, promoting the county and the towns, and sponsorships for some events. What we'd like to do now is be able to use the funds in some of the county capital projects for the county that are owned and supported, tourism attractions. You have the draft policy. We're asking you to allow us to use, this tourism money for, capital projects, basically. And we're asking for your approval to be able to do that.
Jack, what actually is the specific change to this policy from the one that exists today to this one? Is it just that capital projects
That's
line
the,
to it? Is that the only
that's the only
change?
change, is you'd be able to use it for capital projects.
So they didn't change that one bullet, it says capital projects that directly improve and promote county-owned or supported tourism attractions.
Yes.
So the part about the farm museum in here on number 2, it was already in here?
The Farm Museum capital projects was not in the original. No capital projects were in the.
Okay. So,
So in number two,
Good
yeah,
change as
again,
well.
it'd be helpful to understand the track changes, or what changes you're proposing from the last, do we have?
There's no written policy.
Oh, there is no policy on
No,
that?
we don't have a policy. This is
Oh.
this is the first time we had it. We've been using it all these years without
Got
a
it.
policy.
Okay.
We've been
I
using it for
apologize.
promotion.
Sorry, I
No,
would
it's all
have.
good.
I'm sorry, this is the first time you've seen a policy and we have a policy.
Got it.
This is just honing in so that
Okay.
they would
That's
be able to
good.
use it for some of the capital projects that we see that are associated
With-
with our tourism.
With tourism attractions.
Again.
Yes, Commissioner.
And you believe that this stays within the vision of how that 5% would be used
Yes.
within?
Yes,
okay,
Commissioner.
promoting tourists. Okay.
So what's
Got
the, what's the procedure for a project that would be identified as being able to utilize these? Would you come to us on a case-by-case basis and say?
Yes, that's in the policy that you have to approve it.
Okay, so you still come to us and say, hey, we'd like to use this to, for instance, I'll use the one I think that's glaring, and that's the playground, that we need to replace the Carroll County Farm Museum. So you'd come to us on a case-by-case basis and say, we'd like to use a certain amount of money out of this for this particular project.
Yes.
And that's what this does.
This is what this allows us to do. We would
Okay.
put it out to bid, you go through purchasing and come back with, and say, this is the reasons why.
Yeah, as long as we have case-by-case, I mean, that's.
It's a case-by-case.
Okay, Deb, you wanted to say something?
Yes, the hotel tax is a special revenue, and it's not appropriated to use it for a capital project at this point. So even if he did come to you with saying, I want to spend the money, let's say in FY '19, it has not been appropriated from the special revenue into a capital project or the operating budget.
But that would be up to us to say we want it to be.
Well, I
Appropriated.
think then
Have to
you get
open the
into,
budget.
if you were to transfer it over to the general fund, then you're increasing the budget, which we'd have to open the budget process up again. We
So-
could do it through the budget process and appropriate it, this special revenue, into a project.
Okay, but if a project comes up mid-year, then we wouldn't be able to do the project?
You would have to use other funding sources like the reserve for contingency in the operating budget.
I don't like that.
Well, that's why the normal course is following the capital budget process, which is in, the work, when you have,
Well, I
when you know
understand-
there's a capital
I
project.
understand that, but we don't always know that there's a capital project that's gonna come up. So are we supposed to have ESP?
Well, that's why you have reserve for contingency.
But what,
Yes.
Jack, what you're proposing is that we use this 5% for capital projects.
Yes.
And you're saying that we
But
cannot.
not come out of the operating fund, but use the tourism 5% for the capital projects.
So even
Which
with
would, in a
this,
normal year, be fine if they, again, go through the capital project, process. So in the fall, when everybody's submitting their capital budget requests, they submit their capital budget requests too, and attach it to this money, and then when you adopt your budget for the following year, those requests will be in there if they're approved by you, right?
Yes.
Right, so we
It's
have-
just tortured if you try to do it in any given year for something unanticipated.
Okay, so it's a good time to do this. If we adopt this today, we haven't done the budget yet.
You could appropriate it for
We could
2020.
appropriate this to the playground at the Farm Museum.
In FY '20, yes.
So,
Okay.
which I like,
And that would,
but
yes.
what was the catalyst for you putting together this policy right now and coming to us?
There's the capital projects that need to be done, and if you read the law, it says for tourism, we can use it for tourism. And just using a playground, for example, it would bring a lot of people to the, it's a tourism, to bring it to the Farm Museum.
So the answer, I think, Ed, is to hone it in so that
Right.
we can utilize it
Right.
in the way that it's supposed to
Right.
be, and not just willy-nilly.
But
So,
so this is good for this situation, but for long-term putting this policy in effect, what you're saying is we can't do it like next year and the year after. We'd have to wait until we go through the budget process to allocate that money towards capital projects, or no? Or am I, yeah,
The normal process for any capital project throughout the county is, it starts in August, is the folks, whatever director it is, puts together what they think they'll need for the year, for the following fiscal year of capital projects. They're all submitted, they're all evaluated through the budget process by both staff and you guys and everything else, and the ones that win, so to speak, and get into the actual budget are then funded for the following year. And this would just follow that same process.
But-
Or could follow.
there could be a capital project identified as Commissioner Wance shared
In the middle of the year,
mid-year,
right.
and we want to be able to apply, you want us to be able to apply this money, this
But
revenue.
the money is there.
Right, but,
It's been
and- but
collected
the
as a
intent is,
motel, hotel tax.
you want us to apply this revenue towards that capital project, but you're saying we're not allowed to do
Correct.
that mid-year.
You can, if you open up the budget again and have a public hearing and everything else, which is not generally, it's not a.
So this is
it's
just
not
for
a-
capital, because we make budget
Correct.
transfers throughout every year.
Please.
It's really for all funds,
Well, then
except
why
for when we get.
why are we
grant-
allowed to make budget transfers
Well,
then?
we are, because you're using the reserve for contingency. You're not increasing, like, if you're doing a transfer in the operating budget, you are not increasing the total budget. So then this is not something management and budget is saying we need to do. This is by law, that we cannot increase the size of the budgets unless we open up the budget process again and go through the public hearing, which is an option. I mean, it is something that you could do.
But if this project came up in February, we could bring it into the budget session, approve it, and in July is able to.
Absolutely, yes.
So
And then in
all we
July,
do
you
is-
pay them back. so to
We're just
speak.
looking at them all at a
See.
time and then approving them July
It just
1st.
seems like a long way to get around the barn to get to the horse.
Is a way to do it, by putting this in the
Yeah, well,
policy,
yeah. Keeping in the ag pros.
by putting this, within the policy to move that money to a specific place outside of capital, like, so we can put it into the reserve, and then we can pull it from there, as opposed to saying that it would be allocated to capital projects? I mean, what I want to be able to do is touch this money when we identify, and that's your intent here.
Is it a separate account? It's motel, hotel.
Right.
It's a
There's
separate
really-
account
There's
now.
really no reason why 99.9% of these projects shouldn't be able to be identified in the normal course of the capital project, just like any other capital project that goes on in the county. There's just no reason for that. When emergencies and other situations do come up, you have a couple options. You can spend it out of reserve for contingency and then the next year appropriate it out of that and sort of pay yourself back if that happens. But you have, in order to spend legally for the county to spend money, it has to be appropriated. It doesn't matter whether it's out of operating or capital. It has to be appropriated. It has to have a tag associated with it, so to speak. And so you can't just, increase your spend line without an increasing a corresponding appropriation.
Okay, I think we all get that
Yeah.
now. That's the second time we've heard that explanation. I think we're good. My only reservation is that, we should have a little bit more ability to move things around for projects throughout the year if they do occur. That's all. That's all that I'm saying. But I think we can, if we have to, we can get it out of reserve for contingencies and then put it back in
From this money.
at the beginning of the next year. Which is what we, and in this particular case, I'm gonna make sure that we get the playground in the FY20 budget and utilize this money before we sign off on the budget on the 30th. And so we'll have this one covered, this particular project, right?
Yeah, I will have to check with Rob Burke about because it is a special revenue.
Okay.
About whether we can actually make all spend it in this year and then reimburse it for next year.
Yeah, I mean, that's all, and I get it, everybody needs to do their homework, but there are unanticipated things that occur throughout the year that if we're told, well, we can't do that because of the budget, I'm gonna bark about that a little bit, because that's not, I don't need it again, I got it. It just ties our hands a little bit in a way in which we wouldn't be tied.
So I think part of this is when we identify projects, and you identify projects coming to us with this revenue, knowing we cannot use this revenue mid-year, well, we could, but it'd be extremely clunky to open up the budget and all that process. We could use contingency money and at the same time make it very clear that that money from the tax revenue will go back into the contingency money when we open up the budget the following year. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
And that's
yeah, that's the best.
Yeah.
Best way.
So
to
you're
do it.
basically doing an IOU, but we know
The money's there.
Right,
Yeah.
knowing the
Yes.
money's there.
The money's
Right.
there.
Okay.
I move that the commissioners approve the policy for the usage of tourism funds.
Second.
Okay. Everybody good with that motion?
Do we need any further clarification as far as being able to do that with the money, with the movement of money, or no? I mean, before we go forward, what do you think?
Okay, are we actually approving him to move
Yeah.
forward with the bid?
No.
No, we're gonna do that as part of the budget. But I just want to make sure, because there are some things here that I'm not clear on, like, for instance, number 3 here, that authorizes the award of grants for scholarship funds for $10,000 for our main streets. So I get the premise here, but that would
Commissioner,
have-
that's what we've been doing that for years now. That's in there.
I know, but by putting this policy in place now, we've
Solidified it, so to speak. Is that
yeah.
the
So
word?
we got to make sure.
We've been doing that for.
So what? And I get that, but so what does that do to the budget process, Deb? Doesn't it complicate it a bit?
That is in the budget for tourism's budget, and it has.
So that is in the budget?
That's in the budget, and
Okay,
it's
so that-
recommended.
So the only complication here is a capital project.
Yes, it's capital projects that we're adding to.
Okay, okay.
And what this says is that, in this one, last paragraph on the first page, if significant funds exist, financial assistance in the form of individual grants may be made with prior approval of the Board of Commissioners.
Right.
So we will determine
Right.
any of these things that come after it.
Okay.
So the Main Street, any other grant that
Right.
comes before us first, and then we'll make that determination. We'll be the final arbiter on that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, yeah,
Yes.
okay, that's
Right,
good, I
yeah.
got it.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Burke, I'm sure that you've reviewed this, is that correct, sir?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I've got a motion and second. Any other questions? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's unanimous.
Commissioners, thank you.
And then we'll address this capital project that's looming
Yeah.
before we sign the budget on the 30th of May. Okay? Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Wait, what?
So we're doing something a little different.
was gonna say,
Just because we're gonna just do our couple administrative things first, and then you're
Okay.
going to recess as the Board of County Commissioners, and you're gonna open as the Board of Health,
Okay.
rather than adjourn,
Come
open as
back
the Board of
and then go
Health,
back.
reset,
It's just sort of like moving money to
Let's-
capital projects.
Correct. Let's finish as the Board of Commissioners, and then we're gonna go to the Board of Health. I'm like, why is Ed here? Because it was sort of hidden behind, sorry, my briefing paper was hidden behind other things. I was like,
So-
trying
so-
to remember what we did.
So Ed, because of that, you need to go out in the hall first. Okay.
Come back in.
Okay, anything for open admin with the exception of agendas?
There are 3 minutes that you have before you
Correct.
that we need to adopt. One is from our meeting with Secretary Schultz last Thursday, and then 2 are prior closed meetings. One was for, excuse me, closed personnel on March 7th, and one which we thought we had adopted but we missed, so forgive me. And then one was for last week's, well, May 2nd, I guess that was a week and a half ago, which was closed for land acquisition.
Okay, so we've all got those minutes in front of us, and I'm hopeful that you all reviewed them. So I'll entertain a motion for the minutes of May the 9th, which was the meeting with Secretary Schultz.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now I'll entertain a motion for the closed minutes that was personnel related on March the 7th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now I'll entertain a motion for the land acquisition closed that occurred on May the 2nd.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Anything else for open admin?
One, I just want to bring up, I'm having conversations with our economic developer, the community college, I believe I brought up before, and others regarding small business and our county approach to small business. One thing that will be discussed when we have our work session, budget work session, is allocating that money that right now is directed to the community college, so about $200,000 to come back in part to economic development. And then they will divide it out to the appropriate players. It's getting the Office of Economic Development much more engaged in the small business efforts in our county. The SBDC agrees that they want to participate in this more directly and will have space in the county offices with the economic developer, as opposed to this initiative to put a office on Main Street in Westminster. It's not getting the throughput that they expected or getting the engagement that they expected.
Who's they?
The college and SBDC.
It's not the way I hear it, but go ahead.
But that's the conversation I've been having with Dr. Ball and his team. So it's not to take away any of the responsibilities from the college. They will still use the Miller Center for training. They will have that individual that's employed that we're funding for small business co-located at the Miller Center at the college with part of that $200,000. It's the intent here is really a fewfold. One is to get our county resources much more available and engaged into small business development in the county. Two is to leverage the SBDC much more than it was leveraged previously. And third is continue the partnership with the college. So that's what those discussions have been over probably the last month.
But we'll talk about this on Thursday, right? Because I have a different perspective on it, so we'll talk about it then.
As far as moving the budget money, yeah, as far as moving.
And making this initiative, yeah, because we'll have to talk about it on Thursday, because I was told different than what you just put out here.
In what part?
But it was not, we'll talk about it on Thursday, the budget hearing, or budget session, right? That's what you said.
Well, the budget discussion is about the money itself. I'm talking.
Yeah, well, that's.
In open admin about our approach to small business and how
Okay.
we're being most effective
Well,
for small business.
we just made the change, I think it was a year ago, to
In
take-
last year's budget.
In last year's budget, to put this in like one pot and have the, I guess you could say, the community college oversee how the money was spent and used and so forth. We just made that change. From what I've heard, it's working very well. Everything's going, and we just did it. I don't see the reason to change it yet. Let's give them some time to work with this, to advance it and move it forward. I have only heard one complainer, and that's because they got less money.
No, I haven't heard any complaints that way. I've had the conversations with the community college, with SBDC, with economic development all together. This is not talking to one, then talking to another, then talking to another, but bringing them all together and allowing them to have that conversation. The distribution of funds is relatively going to be the same. At the end of the day, the distribution of those dollars are going to be relatively the same. The changes really are taking away that lease on Main Street and bringing the SBDC to economic development. So it's a one-stop shop for small business here in the county, and then moving the
Well, that was-
individual.
That was the whole idea of putting it all underneath the college's umbrella to make it a one-stop shop.
And
But
it-
now we're making it a two-stop shop.
No, we're making it a one-stop shop using the county resources.
And I don't have any problem with getting rid of the idea of putting the office on Main Street. That's fine. It's not working out. It doesn't have to go there.
Right.
I'm fine putting them with, that's
Really
that's
the.
not what I'm talking, that's fine.
That is a large part of the move. The other part of the move is where SBDC actually is gonna lie, and it's gonna be here as opposed to there because of the funding, tools that they'll have using our economic development.
Well, I'm not in favor of taking the funding that we just gave the college a year ago to oversee and taking it away from them. And that's kind of what's happening, if you ask me.
Understand, the thing is, it'll be the same amount of money going to the college. The college will not be receiving, actually, the college probably will be receiving more to do the things they need to do.
They're not paying for the lease?
Well, they're not paying for the lease, and now it's just putting the responsibility to distribute the funds to the other entities, Magic and CTC and the Chamber, which will be the exact same amounts,
Okay.
and the SBDC, which will be the exact same amount to the county to
So
distribute.
all those entities will get the exact same amount of money that we've allocated for them, or the college has
Correct.
already been allocated for them.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, I heard something different than that, but. okay.
No, I mean, I can, afterwards, I can share with you those numbers, but, it was either 7,500 or 10,000, whatever it was, to two or three of them. The SBDC is 58,000.
I think the SBDC got 40,000.
No, the SBDC got 58,000, it started with 40, and they ended up
Last year they
getting
got-
that extra 18,000, but they're out requesting 58,000.
So
They're requesting
they're
58.
requesting another 18,000 more than what we, that's what I'm getting at right
No,
there.
I believe they were given
No, they
in
weren't.
January or February, that extra 18,000.
That didn't happen.
Are you sure? We can check,
Yes.
but,
Well,
okay.
let's check on that.
Okay.
I think the
Let's check on the
budget said
fiscal part
last year was
prior
40.
to the work session.
Right,
Right,
that
but-
doesn't matter.
I mean,
Yeah,
the-
but
there's-
right now, we're
yeah.
talking about the physical, the
Correct.
location.
Correct.
So essentially, what you're saying is the elimination of the lease on Main Street,
Correct.
pooling that over here, which I would assume we have room downstairs in
We
order to
do.
do that,
The
because I know.
SBDC.
Okay,
We
we
do.
got an office, and that's
Yes.
good.
Yeah, that's.
So at this
good
point,
idea.
that's all
Right.
that's all that you're asking us to do?
Yeah, just to understand the change that's happening,
Okay.
to bring the SBDC
But the-
consultant here, bringing the Carroll Community College individual back to the college over to Miller Center, and putting more emphasis on the county, on economic development, to oversee small business growth and development in the county.
And economic development said they were okay with this.
Absolutely.
Did they?
Absolutely. And the dollars, really, the savings will be on the lease piece of this.
Right.
Yeah, I
But
get
my
that
understanding is that Dr. Ball and his team are in agreement with what the distribution of funds are gonna be out of the,
Well, I would like to see what
Sure.
what we had
Absolutely.
said that they were going to get and what they're actually getting, and
Yep.
so what they're, that's,
Yep.
I'd like to see that before. we-
Okay.
Yeah, let's hone in on the fiscal
Yeah.
part of this. You want a decision on the space right now, or is that just?
Well,
what-
this-
I
what-
think it's all one conversation, really.
Okay, well, why don't we do the whole thing, Ed, when we have our budget work session?
Yeah.
We can.
You
I
good
mean,
with that?
That's fine. I'm just sharing with you, these are the things that are in motion
Okay.
right now.
Okay.
And
Why don't we do that? Why don't we hone in on all the details when we do that, and then we'll have the money that matches the space and everything else.
Yeah.
I'd like a little bit of information too on the lease, because I don't know what that is. You probably know.
it's due September. They need a 90-day.
Right, but I'm talking about the amount.
Oh,
Just
Yeah.
out of curiosity, it's because if they're not paying lease, that money has to go in, that money's gonna go into something.
Back
So
to the
let-
county.
We paid the lease.
Okay,
Yeah, we
so
paid
come
the
back
lease.
to
It
us.
comes back
We
to
paid
us.
So
the
let's
lease
get,
amount.
let's hone in on the details so that we have them for our
Yep.
work session.
So you can make.
And then we
this-
can do
Okay.
all that together. You
Yeah.
good
That's
with
fine.
that?
Sure.
Okay. All right.
Good.
Anything else on open admin?
Agendas.
If not, we'll do agendas. Ms. Hoover? The week of May the 20th. Monday, the 20th, is Gary Milliken's retirement from Carroll Lutheran Village. That's down at Sykesville Fire Station, Wance, Rothstein, and Frazier. That's at 5. Tuesday, the 21st, Planning and Zoning, Commissioner Rothstein at 9 a.m. That's here. 10:45 is the Finksburg Library 10th Anniversary Celebration, Commissioner Frazier. I'll be at the Governor's Emergency Management Advisory Council meeting at 11:30 in Baltimore. 2 p.m. is Veterans Advisory Meeting, Commissioner Weaver.
I'll be attending as well.
And Commissioner Rothstein.
Yeah.
Partnership for a Healthier Carroll County 20th Anniversary Celebration. That is at 3 p.m. on Tuesday the 21st. I think that's at Roop's Mill, I believe. Thank you, Ed. 4 of us there. Did we do any, we should probably have a proc to give those folks for their 20th. So you want to make a note of that, handle that, Ms. Hoover, in the tremendous way that you always do. Thank you very much. See what I did there? Tuesday the 21st, Manchester Valley FFA Chapter Banquet, Commissioner Weaver at 6 p.m. And at 6:30, it's the 5th Annual Drug Overdose Prevention Vigil at the college, community college, Wance, Rothstein, and Boucher.
And you're going to add me to that.
And Frazier. Wednesday the 22nd, I've got a meeting with MACO in reference to their Academy Council. It's at 11 a.m. in Annapolis. I move from there to the Federal Emergency Management Advisory Regional Council meeting at 1 p.m. in Baltimore. 6 p.m. is the First Responders Appreciation Dinner. That's at the college, community college, Wance, Boucher, and Frazier. 7 p.m., FFA Chapter Banquet, Commissioner Weaver. Thursday the 23rd, we have open session. We have land acquisition. Visa will be here. Bureau of Aging Disabilities Area Plan, Treasury and Investment Services from the Comptroller, Broadband Feasibility Studies with Mr. Ripper, Rural Legacy Purchase. At 1 p.m., we have our work session that we are all talking about. At 7 is the Finksburg Planning Citizens Council meeting, where Commissioner Weaver will have everyone in Finksburg on the edge of their seats at 7 p.m. That's why I said that. Friday the 24th, wow, Winters Mill FFA Banquet, Commissioner Weaver. 6 p.m. is the Night of Skills with the EST program folks at the Public Safety Training Center. That's Commissioner Boucher. Saturday the 25th, Veterans Memorial at Springfield Cemetery, Commissioner Rothstein, 10 a.m. And at 2 p.m. is an Eagle Scout at St. Paul's Church in Sykesville, Commissioner Rothstein. And Commissioner Rothstein will have the commissioner's report that week. We switched things around a little bit because it's Memorial Day, and I gladly, as a result of Commissioner Rothstein's service to our country, gave the commissioner's report to him because there will be tens of thousands of people listening at 7 a.m. on Sunday. On Monday, May the 27th. Reminder that the offices are closed in observance of Memorial Day. Here's my commercial. The Westminster Memorial Day Parade is at 10 a.m. That is the oldest Memorial Day parade in the country. I would encourage everyone to take about an hour out of your day from the cheeseburgers to come pay tribute to the veterans and all of our folks that are no longer with us that made it able for us to be here. And that's a tremendous parade led by an amazing group of individuals, the Westminster Municipal Band.
Who leads that band?
I believe, well, led by a tremendous drum major as well.
I'll be at the War Memorial in Hampstead at 9 o'clock for a ceremony.
Yeah, and I would encourage my colleagues too. A lot of these American Legions have services that day. If you haven't heard from your particular legion, you may want to reach out to them. I'll be in Tawnytown at 1 p.m. that day as well for there.
Those are all Saturday, right?
No.
No,
Monday.
Monday.
Oh, they're Monday.
Those are Monday.
Yeah,
Okay.
most of those are Monday.
A lot of the American Legion.
So
VFWs
check
are
with the
Monday.
Legion in your respective districts to make sure that you have, that you're there. I think it's very important. And again, sometimes they don't get that communication out, so, check with them to make sure what they're doing. All right, Tuesday the 28th, Carroll County Chamber of Commerce Business Breakfast. That leads, we do this every year where you get to have breakfast with each of us. And Commissioner Frazier leads the charge this year. He'll be at the Westminster Branch Library at 8 a.m.
I said, okay. I don't remember this, but okay.
We'll be having steak
Am I speaking now?
and eggs.
Yes, you're speaking.
Okay. Glad it says on the calendar.
Several of us typically will attend.
Right.
We don't all necessarily have to be there based on
I'll
schedules.
attend with them.
But
He might need some backup on the speaking.
So, all right, at 10 a.m. we
Okay.
have, that day we have our budget adoption. And hopefully, we will be through our work session. So maybe I'll flip back just to remind my colleagues that we may need to be a little bit flexible with scheduling, because we got rid of one of our budget work sessions as a result of scheduling. We have 1 p.m. on,
23rd.
the, what day?
23rd.
23rd. We may need some midnight oil burning that, so just, I know you've got a speaking engagement at 7, so, but we may need an extra hour or two that day, just. No question. All right, Wednesday the 29th, Maryland Crime Information Network briefing and lunch, myself and Commissioner Rothstein at 11 a.m., that's the Public Safety Training Center. Carroll Community College 26th commencement reception begins at 2 at McDaniel College. Lance, Rothstein, Boucher, and Frazier. And then the commencement ceremony follows that at 3, and that's the 4 of us again. Planning and Zoning is that evening, Commissioner Rothstein. And at 6:30, Finksburg Branch has the Heroin Still Kills presentation. Commissioner Boucher will be attending that. By the way, every vehicle in our fleet has the Heroin Still Kills bumper sticker on it. And I want to commend those that made that happen. So there's Heroin Still Kills bumper stickers in everybody's face. Right, Mr. Singer? Thank you.
They're not necessarily on the bumpers. They don't stick to bumpers. in many
Yeah,
parts
some of them are on
the
the back
country.
doors.
They're different.
Yeah, I know.
It's where they were stick
Right.
on the car now.
Right.
On the metal part. If you can find a metal part on a car today, that's where it is.
All right, Thursday the 30th, we have open session. Third quarter budget update after we do the budget adoption. No. Yeah.
Yep.
That's at 10 a.m., our open session. Use of Not in Carroll funding with the infamous Ed Singer. Award contract for after-school programming. Term contract on pavement testing and rehabilitation. Woodside Restoration Project. And then we go into some closed land acquisition activity. 4 p.m. is the Crawford Yingling Insurance 100th Anniversary Celebration in downtown Westminster. Wance, Rothstein, Weaver, and Rothstein, both. Rothstein's going to be there twice, okay?
He's cloned.
Yeah.
Check, if I can be there, I will be there. Check my calendar and I'm not sure what day.
You could take one of mine off and put him on.
It's a big improvement.
Only one of you going to show up.
Yeah.
On Friday the 31st at 6 p.m. is CC Visa's EST program graduation, Commissioner Frazier. Saturday, June the 1st at 2, I have an Eagle Scout in Manchester at Emmanuel Lutheran Church. And at 4 p.m., it's the Church of the Ascension 175th Anniversary Celebration. I may have a conflict that day. Commissioner Frazier, I hope you're going to be there.
Sure.
They were actually here yesterday and presented us with a couple framed pictures of the Ascension Church. I'll share that with my colleagues. Commissioner Rothstein and I got those prints, and we'll make sure they're hung in the county office building somewhere. That's kudos to them. It's one of the oldest, and it's some great stories that come out of the Ascension Church, like the Lee Masters grave over there. If you ever have heard that story, but that's some good old Carroll County lore from there. Thousands of people will be listening at 7:05 a.m. on Sunday the 2nd. to Commissioner Weaver. And I'm a judge for a food tasting event at Westminster Rescue Mission at 3 p.m. that day, which is an interesting event. 4 chefs, it's sort of like MasterChef. 4 chefs run into the pantry at the rescue mission and have to cook a meal based on what they grab out of the pantry.
That's pretty neat.
So it's a cool event. So if you get a chance to stop out to the rescue mission, you can watch me taste test. Don't say it.
Not going to.
All right, anything for agendas? All right, thank you. So, let me make sure we get this right. Counselor, I'm going to rely on you, sir. I know Roberta's got this, but she's talked a couple times today. We haven't heard from you. So,
You need a motion to adjourn as the Board of County Commissioners.
okay,
So moved.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And a motion to commence in your role as a health officer.
Carroll County Board of Health.
He's the health officer.
Carroll County Board.
I move we open as Carroll County Board of Health.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and I'm going to hit this, just pretending that it's you.
That's fine. I could probably use it.
All right, Ed. By the way, congrats to you as well. You received one of the awards as a part of a group yesterday.
Yes.
And that was as it pertains to the CISM group.
Right.
And we certainly do appreciate your efforts there as well. We have, which you're going to be hearing about in Priority Carroll here shortly. We have a couple folks that are getting state awards as a result of our critical incident stress team in Carroll.
That's awesome. You know, it's amazing, and I guess this is completely off the topic, but since you brought it up, it's amazing the collaboration we've had with law enforcement and their willingness to step up with the number of CIT officers that we have certified in the county, and I think the Sheriff's Department has made a commitment to get every one of his officers trained in the mental health first aid. So the partnerships with law enforcement and whatnot that we have to help de-escalate situations in the behavioral health world have really grown, and the work of the critical incident stress management team, you know, I have a really good staff, so they make it they make my job a lot easier by doing the work that they do.
Very good. Thank you. Sometimes that's another part of that behind the scenes things that folks don't realize. First responders and everybody need, and Ed, you certainly do know this, that stress management is a huge part of what first responders and those in the military need from time to time, and it's a critical area, and we've got one of the best teams anywhere. So,
Absolutely.
now for the reason that we're here, Mr. Singer.
So I think this issue's fairly straightforward. I will say that I have a little bit of concern that we need to be looking more proactively at septic systems that are in proximity to our sewer service areas, and seeing if we can't use some of the Bay Restoration Fund money to potentially talk to folks about whether we could get areas that need it hooked up. But you know, sometimes with properties that are in a service area, there are obstacles that aren't easily overcome, and I think this one's fairly straightforward. It's essentially at 89 Liberty Street, the property owner needs to replace a septic system. He's in the existing service area. We've talked to the city of Westminster. They said they prefer not to actually serve the property. We initially thought there was a stub there on his property, but the big problem is they actually have to cross Liberty Street, which would cost a significant amount of money. The total cost of the property owner, if they were required to connect the public sewer, is over $66,000, which is far exceeds what you would normally expect to connect to the public sewer. So essentially what they've asked is for an exception to be able to install a septic system. We have to do an evaluation to make sure that the soils are suitable. The excavator that's actually been out there said when they were digging to look for the sewer line that they thought was there, that the soils actually looked good to them, but we'll find out when we dig perk tests. So essentially what we're asking for from the Board of Health is an exception to the HB 5, which would allow the property owner to install a septic system on the property instead of connecting to public sewer. Like I said, we've already talked to the city and the county's planning department about this. The city would prefer not to have to serve the property, so they're in agreement with the recommendation that they be allowed to be granted this exception.
Why would they prefer not to have to serve the property?
Well, as you're probably well aware, they're very limited in the amount of
Because of the
capacity that
capacity
they have at their
of their
wastewater. And this is problematic everywhere, I think, throughout our municipalities is because of some of the restrictions that MDE's put on the nutrient caps and whatnot on these wastewater system. It's become difficult to serve all the areas that were initially planned to be served, so.
So what happens if the perk test comes up and they can't put a septic system?
Well, they'll be back to having to talk to the city about connecting the public sewer. It doesn't take them out of, this exemption doesn't take them out of the possibility, but it gives them the option of looking at a septic system. So we'll have to see where that goes when we do the evaluation.
Are the other properties, and that, I was Google Earth in this thing, it, always gives me a better perspective of where they are on Liberty Street. The adjoining properties, are they on the Westminster
No,
system?
they're not.
All single?
There's not a sewer line over there. And
Wow.
it was interesting because they actually went out and had Miss Utility come out and mark the property, and they marked that there was a sewer stub there, and there's not. Because when the person went out to connect them, they actually went through the whole process with the city of Westminster. When the person went out to connect them to public sewer, they found out there wasn't a sewer line there. So we're back to square one.
There's no sewer line at all?
Not on that side of the road. The problem is
Okay.
the expense comes in closing
Crossing the
down
road.
27, crossing the road, and running the line to the sewer over there. That's what the big expense is.
So the request here is to put a septic system allow them to put a septic system in place as opposed to hooking up to the sewer.
Correct.
Is this going to be necessary for all of these houses?
None of
that-
the other houses, if at some point in time the
They
septic
decide to
systems
sell.
fail, they may need an exception. It may also be that the city of Westminster may look at taking this out of the area that's planned for service. And I think that's what their long-term thought is on this, is that it's maybe properties that they don't want to have to provide public sewer service to. And what I've said to my staff, and Lee Broderick's our environmental health director, and he's down at, we have an affiliate for the environmental health directors at MACO, so he's there today, or he'd be sitting here with me. But I've asked him to take a look at all of the service areas and try to take a look at the properties that we think are going to have problems replacing their septic system in the future. If we could maybe take a look proactively at using Bay Restoration funds to do a project where it might cost people minimal or nothing to connect up. We're allowed up to $20,000 for each property to provide sewer service. So if we found a group of 5 properties and the project would cost less than $100,000, it might not cost them anything to connect. It's been my experience, we've dealt with a lot of these properties, areas in the past where if you have a community, and Lineborough is one of the ones that we went through time after time again in Carroll County, where, even 20% of the people are having a problem, the 80% of the people who aren't immediately having a problem don't want to spend money up. They don't want to expend the cost to have to deal with a public system. So unless we can bring the cost down to nothing for the property owners, it's difficult to get anybody to move forward with any type of project because the people who aren't immediately having a problem don't want to do it.
If the failed septic, it's a closed septic system, it's not a cesspool that's being,
I think this system may be a cesspool.
okay, and the property is large enough to put in a system, I mean, obviously. a
Provided you
septic
get
system.
satisfactory perk tests, yeah, it's large enough to put in the system. Otherwise, there'd be no sense in us asking for this exemption.
Correct. Okay, I mean, and you know this, and we've had this
I know,
conversation
we've-
plenty.
We've had
But
this.
this
yep.
is a real situation that's hitting Carroll County. And we gotta be very careful on regulations and watch what the state is trying to do to force ourselves into a bad situation.
Right.
That's my biggest concern,
I understand that, and like I said, I think the best thing we can
Okay.
do at this point is maybe proactively take a look at some of these properties and see if there's anything we can do. Now, the other side of that coin is if, you know, if our municipalities are struggling to have any capacity for new business development or
Right.
whatever that they want, if we're saying, hey, we want to hook 7 houses up to your system, we may get pushback from the municipalities, but I think it's something we ought to be taking a look at. So it's something that I think we need to explore, and we'll be taking a look at those on a case-by-case basis.
What is a benefit fee?
So you're talking about, the benefit fee is, you know, you guys, each municipality or owner of a water or sewer treatment system charges a certain amount of fee to be able to make use of that service. So when you connect, there's a certain charge depending on the municipality or whether it's a county-owned system or whatnot. The utility sets that fee.
$5,500?
That's not uncommon.
Now,
There's, you know, obviously there's a cost, and I don't want to sit here and try to justify the fees that are charged by the utilities, but there is a cost of maintaining the infrastructure that the person's asking to connect to, and that's why those utility fees are essentially in place there. Now, if we look at some of these with, you know, again, the large majority of what we're looking at here is for crossing Liberty Street, and that's why we're asking for the exception. If this was a regular, normal hookup, we have the ability to use Bay Restoration funds that we've been applying for through a grant from MDE to actually make the sewer connection, and we can pay that connection fee, and we've hooked up probably at least a dozen homes in the time that the Bay Restoration Fund's been around at virtually no cost to the property owners. So it'll pay to dig the trench, it'll pay to make the actual physical sewer connection, and it'll actually pay for the connection fee that the utility would charge. When it goes over that $20,000 cap, then the whatever additional is there would be the responsibility of the homeowner. And we do tend to run out of Bay Rest. We ask for more money than the state's able to give us, but we generally tend to run out of money around the February, March time frame, and then we have to wait until the next fiscal year, but we put folks on a waiting list. But it gets difficult for people if they're having an immediate problem to manage that until the funds are available. But you know, so there are some funding through the Bay Restoration Fund that would get people hooked up. And it's also limited to plants that are on ENR. So there are some plants in our county which not qualify.
And the city charges another $7,000?
Like I said, I don't set those fees, Commissioner. That's the fees that are charged by the utility.
Has there been any opposition from neighbors about this individual moving forward with their septic
No.
system?
I can't see why. Well, and honestly, I think the neighboring properties, as Commissioner Wance alluded to, if their systems fail, they're going to be in potentially the same situation where they have to
should be
spend-
supportive.
So I think they probably wouldn't have any issue with it.
No, I don't think it was another 7,000. That 7,133 is what you paid, all those original fees, the top, the bond, the inspection, the permit fee, the connection fee, whatever, those are all the city fees. So all the city fees would add up to $7,100.
Right, and I didn't have this sitting out in front of me, but the
You see that?
the city
Yeah.
city charges a bond of
It's
$1,650. The benefit fee is $54.96, so the total's $87.6350.
And then they were giving a discount for whatever reason of $1,600. it
I
looks
guess,
like.
well, the bond comes back, I guess the bond comes back.
Gotcha.
You pay the bond up front, but you get the bond back once the work's done.
Right. So that's where the 7,100. So the fees for the city would be 7,100.
So the stand ball thing, if you're looking at that piece of paper that you have in front of you, Commissioner, the stand ball fee is the one for crossing the road, and that's almost half the cost of the whole sewer connection. It's $31,000 extra dollars to cross the road with the sewer line, and this system would happen to require a pump because you can't get gravity to it, and that's another $12,000. So
Can't get
with a
gravity
normal
to it.
sewer, what's that?
Can't get gravity to it. There's always gravity, but anyway. go ahead.
Well,
Gravity's going the wrong direction in this
gravity's
case.
going
Okay.
wrong. It's uphill both ways, Commissioner.
Okay, go
You
ahead.
know what flows downhill.
But, I mean, those are the two big expenses that are out of the normal for a sewer connection, and so you're looking at, roughly $44,000 between those two things, and that's why we're here. Otherwise, if we didn't have that $44,000 in cost, it'd be a routine sewer connection, and, we could probably fund a lot of that through the, Bay Restoration Fund.
Commissioner Fraser, this is your district.
Now, just a question on this. This house is for sale, basically, right?
Correct.
Being sold, so you're putting a loan into 60,000. After the sale of the house, does this come back to, you're just granting a grant?
No,
is it a
no
grant?
cost to
No,
us.
this
We're
is a
just granting the
waiver
exception to let them go ahead
allow
and
them-
Put a-
with
a
the septic
private
system
septic
instead of
system.
connecting the public sewer.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it would go through, like any other real estate transaction that's out in the county somewhere that's on private well and septic. Once the septic system is installed and the transaction goes through, the person has a well and a septic system.
Currently, the house is not eligible to be sold if it has a failed system. And that's the situation.
Correct.
So they need to put in a system, a system, and
Right.
you're asking for the exception, or they're asking for the exception.
Right.
As opposed to be put onto sewer.
And ultimately, we're recommending the exception. The property owner asked us, we come to you as a Board of Health because we have this Health Board resolution. We've actually had some discussions about whether Health Board Resolution 5 is necessary or not, but that's the resolution that requires us to become before the Board of Commissioners. Otherwise, the Health Department could just do it ourselves. But
Right.
I think it's good that these exceptions come to your attention because I don't think you just want to, I think it's a big deal when somebody's in an area, we would prefer people to be connected to public sewer, and I think it's a big deal to grant somebody an exception not to be.
And, this seems like a very simple request to get us, and we'll approve that request, I expect. But this discussion is much more, to me, important, because the in-depth situation we have with failed septic systems in Carroll County and with the cesspool situation on properties in Carroll County, what are the alternatives? So you being proactive in understanding that and giving us a best course of action in dealing with that
Right.
is important. And again, we've, in my short tenure here, I've had these discussions plenty, and I've learned more about the septic system situation and concerns, and that is the real issues that we have to deal with. So, the more proactive you are in identifying solutions, I think the better off we're going to be as a county. So,
Sure.
thank you.
Absolutely.
Let's say if the city of Westminster wasn't willing to go along with this, I'd be hesitant to approve it.
Well,
But since
I don't
they're-
know that I would even bring it to you as a recommendation, because the Health Department, as the approving authority, we have, there's a two-phase process. One is, as the approving authority, I have the authority to either grant or deny an exception, but because we have this Health Board resolution, it also requires
Right.
your approval. So it may be that if the city of Westminster said no, that I wouldn't even bring it to you. And somebody might complain about that, but, I want to support the municipalities in meeting their needs with the sewer and water service areas that they've identified.
Okay, with that, I make the motion that the Carroll County Board of Health grant a hardship exemption to the Health Board Resolution 5 to allow the property owner of 89 Liberty Street in Westminster to purchase a permit to install an individual on-site sewer disposal system.
Second.
Any
If it
other
works.
questions? All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you.
Great
you, gentlemen.
discussion.
I need a motion to adjourn as the Carroll County Board of Health.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
Thank you,
job,
Mr.
Ed.
Singer.
Thanks, Ed.
Hate being Board of Health.